2.
You guys look so efficient.
You look very important. That's about it.
Did anybody tweet out their picture?
We're all show, no go.
I'm looking. I haven't.
Starting coder. It started. Yeah, you're live. Without any video for some reason.
There's pictures.
There it is.
Yeah. There's two people watching it already.
It's okay. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started.
Where do I need to go to?
Oh, you have to actually watch. You can watch us here.
No, I realize that.
Oh.
That's all there is to it. I'm just going to watch you guys.
Yeah.
Right. It would be best that way because there'd be a delay for you if you wanted to watch it there.
I'm gonna go do Q&A.
Okay, you have fun. I have Q's for your A's.
Do you?
No, I don't.
I have a big Q. Do you want to make that a topic of your podcast?
Nope.
Stacy's Crumble.
Stacey's Crumble. Who broke Stacey?
Hashtag
I love Stacey.
Okay, we are live and things are switching back and forth. So, welcome to the ninth episode of the GAFE Admins podcast. A couple of shout outs before we get started. Who we are. One, to say thank you to Telestream. Telestream actually gave us the software to run Wirecast, which allows us to do multiple cameras and live broadcasts. Very nice of them. If you do any type of live broadcasting of any kind, it's great software. I would recommend looking into it at a minimum. But again, we'll be able to do shots of us, not that anybody wants to actually see us, but then also shots of the wonderful audience. Huge audience here tonight. I want to thank you all for coming out. And secondly, to Go Guardian, who sponsored us and got us our mobile podcast. So we are the GAFE Admins, a podcast by and for GAFE Admins. My name is Lance Lennon. I am the Director of Technology for the Eagle Grove Community School District in Eagle Grove, Iowa.
I'm Chad Ferks, Director of Innovation and Technology from Spirit Lake School District in Iowa.
I am Carl Baird, Director of Technology for Ames Community Schools in Ames, Iowa.
Excellent. Chad, do you have any information from Mitch? She's supposed to be joining us. And I'm not exactly sure how to add him in via this. So, what do we got?
Super high gain. I need to turn
Gains up top.
Because it's super echoey. These are really close together.
It's this.
Yeah, well, let's let him think he did something.
Okay. I'll fix it for real.
Okay. Turn those back. Otherwise, phantom power goes from the mic. Yeah, if you turn the gain down too far, we lose phantom power on the mics. So it's got to go back up. Yep. So we don't have much option on the phantom power. Okay. Well, now we lost our feed. All kinds of technical difficulties, but we'll get to it when we get to it, I suppose. Major echo, says Phil. Yeah, we know. We got two mics here that maybe we just
close together.
take one. Maybe it's that one over there. That one should
We
be.
turn that one down.
All right, we have no idea what's going on. Bunch of rookies over here.
Yeah, lots better echo, so that's good.
Oh, you think you bumped my camera? So we lost our camera.
That's what happened. There it is. We're back.
Hey, yes. Okay. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is GAFE Admin tips and tricks and some new stuff that's going on inside the GAFE Admin Council. Things you may be aware of, things you may not be aware of. One thing we wanted to start off with was the new sites. Talked about that in some of our sessions. We're here live at the Midwest Google Summit in the Wisconsin Dells. Great time of year to be here because it is not very busy at all.
And fortunately, this year it's not a blizzard, as it was in a previous year.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, we got to drive home in the ice and snow.
Yes.
I come from the land of the ice and snow.
As do I.
I like it.
I'm south of 20. I don't know what you guys have to live through.
All right, right. We were talking about some new stuff inside of the GAFE Admin Council, things that got released on November 9th. New sites went out to districts, and the rollout goes from November 9th, I believe, till November 21st.
Yeah.
Is that the schedule? So if you have not got new sites inside your admin council, you're going to have to look at it. The things that we've found, things that we've heard that are causing some problems for some people is, one, what are you going to do with the old sites? No one's going to do anything. Awesome!
What are you going to do with the old sites, Mr. Lennon?
I'm waiting for their conversion tool to be created.
Which is due out in the future.
Yes.
Correct. I think the thing to really remember with this particular switch is that it's going to be a very long transition. Google's told us that it's not going to be overnight because they have to work through the transition tools. And if you've had the opportunity, I think both you guys, as well as I, were in the testing program relative to that, the new Google sites. And so you had the opportunity to see what it looks like. And there's such a significant difference between old sites and new sites. The transition piece is not going to be very easy, I don't think. It looks like with the new sites, they put a much higher premium on making it prettier and easier to add content and getting away from some of the more traditional web page editing tools. So for us, I'm really quite nervous with the new sites coming out and how that's going to work. Because we have, I think last time I checked, 4,000 plus sites in our domain. And now most of them, I would say probably half of them are useless. Ones that kids started or a teacher started the first time and never got around to finishing. But there are other ones that we use for internal data collection and demonstrating data and things like that, without those tools going forward, it's going to be really hard for us to do things. So hopefully the transition tool works, and it's a good tool. I haven't had a chance to see it or really hear anything about it at all. But I am going to hang on to classic sites until 12:59 p.m. or 11:59 p.m. on the day they take it away.
And hopefully they'll give you some notice and not just tell you, oh, by the way, it's gone now. But you never know. They may say that it's one day and it happens at a later date again. The biggest issue for me, of course, is new sites not as customizable. And you get in there and not being able to tweak your HTML, add in the things that you need. But I do have to say this, we've had some of my staff start to develop on the new sites. We were part of a beta testing group. And people who I would never have given access to the ability to make web pages for fear of what they may or may not be able to do are making some really nice sites. And they're kind of customizing. If you look at forms and the way forms changed, it's got that same look and feel. They're going to a standard UI for all the GUI stuff, and then a standard UI on the outface or the public-facing side. It does work. It's nice. It's handy, but there's a lot of things that we've done that just need a little bit more of it. One of the things you do have to look at when you do this is your drive settings, because now all sites are going to be stored inside of Drive. And the big issue you're going to run into is when I have files stored in Drive, if I have my default set up in Drive or my rules set up in Drive that my students cannot share outside of my domain, then their sites are not going to be publicly visible. And that's something most people haven't even thought about because they didn't. In the past, it wasn't a deal. If you went to sites, you had a site, and if you made it visible to the public, it was visible. On this one, even if you say this should be visible to the public, if your Drive settings are such that they cannot share outside the domain, then you can't share that site.
Another one that bothers me a little bit with the sharing is the custom sharing, having accessible to certain users. With classic sites, you can do that, and with new sites, the only way to share with, so if I wanted to create a site with just the three of us, and you guys were viewers of the site, and I was the only editor and nobody else could see it, the new sites doesn't allow for that. I have to make you guys editors of that site, which, two things I have a problem with that is I don't like lots of people being editors on my sites, and two, it requires a Gmail account. So if we shared a site with the parents, we set up a classroom site, the parents would have to have a Gmail account if they wanted to be able to see it, and that just seems kind of counterproductive. I even went around and poked around in the folder that the new sites create, and there's the only sharing settings, they're different because it knows it's a site folder, and they match what's in the site's editor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a big change. I mean, we were considering changing our whole district webpage to Google Sites and have since, with the changes, decided against that and are looking for other options. So I'm not going to say that I'm happy with the change to new sites, for sure.
And it's not that we're being old curmudgeons either. I
No,
don't think.
no, they just took away too much functionality that we were used to in the old sites. We had student portfolios, and now, unless who they want to share those pieces with has a Gmail account, that's not a possibility. They could have made just certain pages public, obviously, previously, and that seems to be going away unless Google's are going to add that back in. It's disappointing to me.
What are things that you do like about it?
Nothing.
Okay.
Okay, so it is really pretty, and it is really easy for somebody.
If anyone knows me, I'm not necessarily about the pretty in stuff. I need it to work.
Yeah, and this site, the new site seems to lean heavily toward, I can put a picture exactly where I click and drag it. You know, I don't have to, you know, with the old sites, we had to kind of tweak some stuff to make it fit into a table. So we nested some tables and you mess with the HTML code to get it to look the way you wanted it to look. But with the new sites, you basically just click and drag it, and it redraws everything and does some really crazy stuff with CSS and divs and stuff like that in the background. That it puts a heavy premium on quick and easy access to throwing together content from the stuff that's stored in your drive already. So you can connect Google Docs to it very easily and add content very quickly and have it look really pretty. It's just we don't have some of the things that we would like to have, and maybe that's our fault for co-opting a tool and trying to shoehorn it into what we want, and maybe we shouldn't do that.
I don't know who's shoehorning anything. Well, that's the other side of the coin, is that there are so many tools out there that are developing websites that you can build websites off of that give you that ease of use and that customizability. Is are we asking Google to reinvent the wheel or give us something we already have elsewhere? And are we looking for that one thing to do everything when they probably want to concentrate resources on other?
Well, they sort of rethought the purpose of sites, right? It's more of a team collaboration space now than an actual website creation tool.
I think that's the best way to describe that for sure.
It's a rethinking of the purpose, and I disagree with their rethinking.
And you're allowed to.
I am.
No one would ever tell you you can't think that way.
I know, except for you.
Hashtag
I
not my
am.
Google.
Yeah, you're right. Not my Google.
Sorry, too early.
Too soon. Maybe a little bit.
Too soon. All right. How about out here? We have five people in the audience. Anybody out there? Thoughts on the new Google sites?
Or questions about the Google site? Should change that feed so I can scan.
Yeah, we can do that.
Any thoughts on new sites? Anyone looked at new sites? Anyone? Bueller.
Easy for students to use.
Yes, I would agree. It's easy for the students to use. Functionality-wise, I would agree 100%.
And I think it will be better for an internal portfolio. It's just going to be the sharing outside that's going to change for sure.
Right.
Template feature.
Yeah, no template feature. I'm hoping they're going to bring some of that back, but we'll see. It is the Googles.
Yeah, the template. And that actually, that's bigger. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's a big one not to have, especially if you want that commonality in your site. And you're gonna,
Well, yeah, we had a template, a portfolio template that we were starting to use and propagate through the system, and now, crap.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
dear.
little difficult, so.
All right. Anything else new in the Googles for you guys?
I want to talk about GAM.
That's not the Google stuff. That'll come coming. But we saw some other things that were new in the Google.
But there's new in the GAMs.
But there's
What was us? What else?
new the file upload in forms.
Oh! Yeah, that was kind of cool. We kind of glossed over that. We kind of snuck that one in.
Oh, and something else I noticed about forms today is it auto changes the question type based on the name of the question.
Yes, if you start putting in
Seriously?
yeah, because if you said like, what is your name, it'll automatically make it a text box.
Yes, and I said address. So I was doing a session earlier today on, and I hope I get to talk about it later, awesome tables, but we were doing it on form responses. So we built a quick form, and I just typed first name and changed it from, it defaults to radio button, which is dumb Google, change that default, first of all. Not change Google. How many people use a radio button question?
Maybe they're trying to get more people to use radio button.
Maybe that's their preference.
Building capacity.
There you go. But yeah, I started typing first name and it changed to text, or from short answer or whatever, and then I typed down a few fields, I typed address, and it immediately changed to paragraphical response. So it's magic. They do get some things correct, in my opinion.
So with the file upload stuff, I started poking around in that with the new forms. We use Google Forms quite heavily with walkthrough data for our staff and for our coaches and stuff. And so I started wanting to test to see, because the principals have always asked, well, what if I wanted to take a picture to have that piece of data to prove or to go along with whatever it was I was seeing. And now we have that opportunity. So I tested it with a form on my laptop, a form on my iPhone, and a form on my Note. So I tried an Android phone, an iOS phone, and a Mac, just to see what the process looked like. And it actually works really slick. And on the back end, you basically get a link in the spreadsheet to that file,
which
that you
is
can easily get to.
which is housed in your drive now, in a folder for
Inside the
that
folder, it's a folder inside the folder that contains the form.
The form.
And the form response.
Correct.
Peter Lee and Mark Krukow, who are watching, and I'm sorry if I just killed your name, Mark, are watching, and they both loving the uploads in forms. Peter Lee said they moved their project admission to Google Forms. Looking forward to seeing it in action when the semester ends in a few weeks.
Yeah.
That was big because, if you ever did on a form before where you asked a student to turn work in, and we talked about this in my session this morning, they would have to go to their drive, get the sharing URL for that device, put that copy that URL, put it in the form so that you could then have a link to it. How nice is it now that they can just go in there? And I understand if you're using Classroom, this is kind of a moot point.
Yep, right.
Or as Joey always said on Friends, it's a moot point.
It's a cow's opinion. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Um,
But on the
thinking about that
phone,
one.
so one of the things that I wanted to test right away was what would it like if I had my phone. So I'm doing a walkthrough. What I didn't want to have to do was take a picture, upload it to Drive, and then upload it to my form. And you don't actually. When you go to click upload, you can choose your camera,
Yep.
and you can upload
It has
video and picture directly
device
from.
storage access.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Now, the caveat we also found this morning, and has been mentioned on the GAFE admins list, community, is it's only available within your domain. In other words, as soon as you make this a form where they aren't required to be in your domain, you uncheck that box, the file upload is no longer an option. So it has to be in your domain form that is only available, restricted to your domain.
Because it has to collect their username to share that file with.
Make the sharing, right?
So I mean, it really makes sense. On one hand, you think, "Oh, that kind of stinks," but it really makes sense on the programming end of things for sure.
Yeah. All right. So that was a big. You didn't want to talk about that.
I
That's fine.
should have made our show notes sooner than 30 minutes ago.
You just should be looking at our show notes. We've been busy planning sessions. It is a conference. I'm trying to think anything else that is new. Maybe are you guys anybody using the uploads? In our audience, who are just you get the quiet look at like please no. Oh, we changed the camera view. There they are. We can show our audience. Nobody has any comments. They're just like we should have left, and now it's just rude to walk out. It wouldn't be rude if you feel like walking out. You can walk out. Trust me, we walked out before.
So
And those are days.
some of the big things. Obviously, the new sites and the file upload forms.
Right.
There were a lot of things I thought were released around the 9th, but it's just
There were, but those were the highlights.
Yeah, those were the big ones. All right.
All right, gam it up.
All right. So this should surprise no one, but I'm
Carl's
super
going to talk
excited.
about GAM.
He's a one-trick pony.
But it's a very good trick. So just a reminder, the GAM tips URL is bit.ly/GAM tips, capital G, capital A, capital M, capital T.
What?
And you will see in there this tip of the month, and it actually has to do with the new way to install GAM. Jay, in his awesomeness, has put together a way for Mac and Linux users to basically run one bash command in terminal, and it walks you through all of the setup from scratch.
I just had a thought.
Which is super cool.
Maybe someone in our viewing audience knows what furs are.
Oh yeah. So when I was testing this, thanks for the side. When I was testing this, I kept getting a a FURS quota era. Too many FURS, F-U-R-S, and it was all capitals. And so we did our best to come up with some all very not
Very
appropriate for
creative,
this,
very
this
creative
podcast as to what those were.
words for that acronym.
But basically, I just had too many projects that I couldn't do. But one of the things with GAM is the scary part of it, really the hard part of it, is getting GAM up and running appropriately. And connecting the OAuths and getting your JSON set and things like that, and authorizing access to APIs. People start to glaze over and they're like, oh, this is too hard. And now it's a whole lot easier to do. And even for you poor Windows users, they now have an MSI that you can download, and it walks you right through it as well. You don't have to keep going back and forth and download the JSON file and rename it and put it in the install location. It literally walks you all right through the process, and it's super, super, super slick. And then, if you tie that to your cloud instance of Linux in your Google Cloud Console at cloud.google.com,
I was just going to ask you, and Carl, where did you test
you
this?
you can create an instance and install GAM right in there. And so then in the cloud, you have a full operating version of GAM that you can take and use anywhere with no matter what device, as long as you have internet access. And
You can gam it up from your phone.
can you?
Why couldn't you access the cloud console from your phone?
We're gonna have to try.
I'm gonna do it live demo.
I think I've done that before, but I'm going to.
So I figured out what the furs are.
You did?
It's a southern thing.
Okay.
Because they're asking what fur you want to do that.
Okay. Wow. We need a soundboard where we can mute that trend. So that's with the new versions of GAM. We have GAM 4.0. There's some tweaks in there if you've never set it up before on how you need to put in a flag to make sure it doesn't mess with your projects you already have set up. But overall, I mean, that's a heck of a new addition to make it a lot more usable to folks. So I was really, really excited. And in the GAM community, it got kind of released in the, oh, hey, by the way, we just did this, and there wasn't a lot of fanfare. I demand more fanfare for Jay Lee and the guys over there doing really cool stuff in the GAM community. So definitely check that out. If you need to set up a new version of GAM, we're going to do some updates going forward. Check out those new steps because it is super, super, super simple. Now, along those lines, those of you that are GAFE administrators, probably the only people that would willingly listen to this podcast, is all of your students, if you don't have the developers console turned off, have access
to a Linux instance.
to a in the cloud Linux instance using their GAFE email account. So you're going to want to be aware that if you don't want your kids to have access to that, you're going to want to turn that off for the OUs that you don't want to have access to it. So don't turn off yours, but definitely think about turning it off for your kiddos. They're going to have a really good reason to have unrestricted access to a full-on Linux install.
And ain't nobody got time for that. That's so in your admin console, under apps, and then the additional Google services, you want to make sure you choose like your student OU and have it propagate down to the ones below it. But it is the Google developers.
Yeah, Google Developer Console.
Developer Console, yep. And make sure that is off then for your littles, so that they aren't.
Yeah, I don't even think there would be a reason to have it on for your kids at all.
Well, the
unless
thing
you're
about it
doing
is,
some
and
dev
this is
stuff.
exactly what, who introduced this to us, I can't remember the name now. He came to us from South Carolina.
Oh, he was a guest.
God, this is
He
terrible.
was a guest on the show. He
Yes.
was terrible about it.
Anyway, he used it because having the developer console, he has his own web server. So you have access to a web server. So if you have kids that are wanting to learn about that, that's where that developer console would come in. But again, along with having much power comes much responsibility.
You can indeed access your Linux instance from your phone,
Wow.
either through the Cloud Console app or through just a browser on your phone. So I am now in my cloud shell and could run GAM from my phone, driving down the interstate at 85 miles an hour while watching Netflix.
Yes, that's exactly what you want.
But you wouldn't do that. That's not safe.
I would never do that nor promote such activity.
That's good to know.
So that's my GAM tip, and a little talk about the Google in the cloud, GAM in the cloud.
GAM in the cloud right there on the phone.
Awesome sauce. Done. I'm done. All right.
Hey, can we mention the change to the Googles, how they, with some changes in forms, how they now retrieve the username as user email or something. We saw in the GAFE admins community, someone mentioned changes by Google are going to mess up Formula, Autocrat, and other add-ons that use the email field. It was previously registered as username, and now it is tagged as email address. So any add-on or script that you may be running custom-wise will be jacked up because they changed the title of that field now. So when you click the box to automatically retrieve username in a Google form, it no longer comes in a username column, it comes in an email space address column. Not only did they screw it up, they put a space in the field. So
I want to make it extra fun.
thanks, Google. I do love Google. Sometimes they just do things that make no sense in my head.
Understood.
So just FYI, if you have automation scripts that are relying on that, you might want to have a look. Or while creating new workflows, make sure you take that into account for sure. As I will be doing in my session tomorrow, so that should be an interesting twist to an already complicated workshop.
Hey, aren't you doing a workshop? Or no, you did today on awesome tables.
Awesome tables are awesome, and I might actually have a chance to talk about them today. I did 2 sessions, and I get excited about awesome tables because I really truly believe that they are awesome. I did 2 sessions, a beginner and an advanced awesome tables, and you can do so much with awesome tables. It's a great way to visually depict data sets from Google Sheets. And you can get the data either from form submissions or CSV exports. We're all in the GAFE community, right? So how many times have you exported a CSV of student demographic data into a Google spreadsheet? Awesome Tables allows you to very nicely be able to filter that data set down and then even export a CSV based on that filtered down subset of data, and then have a new spreadsheet. So you might have like the district's whole pre-K 12 student contact data in one spreadsheet, and then Awesome Tables allows you to filter on the various columns and then export a CSV of just that subset that you might need. So the way we use that, and that's the one we covered in Introduction to Awesome Tables, was just a student contact information listing. It makes it super simple. In our district, I export all of that from the SIS into a Google spreadsheet, and then make it available through an Awesome Table to the teachers. They just like how our SIS lets them gain that contact information, so we put it in an Awesome Table. They like that much better, and it's the whole building, so they just search for their homeroom and their grade or whatever, and off they go. Much better. You don't have to give access to everyone's data in the SIS. You can just do the contact data here. So that's just one use. Mapping. Awesome Tables is an awesome way to build a Google map based on data in a spreadsheet. And the way, one of my favorite ways is to automate processes. So in conjunction with forms, pre-filled form URLs, spreadsheets, and Awesome Tables, you can build some pretty awesome workflows relatively easily. You know, I used to custom code all of that stuff with Google Apps Script, and Awesome Tables and some add-ons like Form Meal, which apparently is now broken because of Google's infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, changing field headings. Crap.
No, really, he does like.
I love Google. I live and breathe Google, but yeah. So you can make pretty awesome workflows pretty simply using forms, pre-filled form links, spreadsheets, and Awesome Tables for people to click a pretty red button. In my case, any 3 copy forms we used to have in our district have been completely Googleized using that sort of workflow. And there's so many other. Updating contact information is one we looked at today in my advanced stuff. So you have a spreadsheet of everyone's contact data. You generate a pre-filled form URL with the existing contact data. You tell them you can attach what's called row-level permissions based on an email address. So when they go to the Awesome Table, all they see is their contact information and their button. So they can click their button, they get their pre-filled form, with their contact information. They make the edits that are needed, click submit, it goes to a secondary spreadsheet with the updated contact information, which you can export to a CSV and then re-upload to the SIS and have updated contact information.
And I don't want to start just because I think Awesome Table is awesome, but I do want to give credit where credit is due. Derek Berry. Derek Berry was our friend from South Carolina who, when we ran into him at ISTE, introduced us to GAM in the cloud. And at that point in time, if you should have seen these two guys, they just, it's so fun when you sit there, and by no means do we think we know everything, and we get so much, as much from the community as the community gets from us, and this is the perfect example. It's just like,
what? So I develop a product called FlexiSched that uses the Google OAuth stuff.
FlexiSched, the student flexible scheduling games.
Wow. Okay. Now I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, and Derek was, and I'm in the Cloud Counsel's API stuff all the time, and I never noticed the actual Cloud Counsel button to bring up a Linux instance. I'd never noticed that. I'm in there all the time. So we're sitting there at ISTE talking to this guy in the hallway after our live broadcast, and he's
And
telling
Derek
Carl.
Berry is about 7 foot tall.
Yeah, so I was looking up at him. the whole
Yeah, I
time.
was looking up at him. He was talking.
So we literally were all looking up to Derek for giving us this
Yes,
information.
absolutely.
Great guy.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm in the Cloud Council stuff all the time. What are you talking about? And then he described where he was doing and what he was doing, and he showed me the button, and I was like, oh. So Carl and I immediately said, well, we could do GAM in the cloud. And so we put our 11 steps together on a bus ride on the way back from Spark
Fun up in Boulder, yeah.
Spark Fun's facility there in Boulder.
Which is an interesting name for a company in Colorado.
Indeed.
Ooh,
Indeed.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Spark up some fun, boys.
Wow, this is how many months ago we didn't
I didn't even get that.
That's okay.
Oh, wow. It takes Lennon sometimes. to
Different
shed the light
backgrounds.
on
Different backgrounds.
I'm a good kid from Northeast Iowa. I know what you're talking about. Anything else on awesome
that
tables,
was
Chad?
so fast.
Anything else on awesome tables?
I'm now totally distracted. No, I encourage you, if you haven't used or even looked at Awesome Tables, to check it out if you're in any way responsible for showing people data sets in a variety of methods. Just some of the data, there's the basic table, but the maps and the geolocation stuff is extremely powerful. And then there's some other views that make a people directory. Making a contact information directory on your website is extremely simple and to make visually pleasing using an Awesome Table. So if you haven't looked at it, have a look, give it a shot. Come to my workshop tomorrow to learn how to use it for a small piece of a workflow to Googleize any sort of 3-form copy. Tomorrow we'll go over how I used it as a small piece of our trouble ticket system. Totally Googleized with forms and sheets and pre-filled forms, our trouble ticket system for our district.
That's good. Yeah.
What's up?
So one of the nice things about doing a live session is that we can always take some questions too.
Yeah, questions from the audience.
I know that there are a few folks in here that sat in on some of my admin workshops earlier today, and I'm pretty sure I didn't answer all of their questions. So do you guys have any questions, GAFE admin related, that you would like to talk about or thoughts?
And don't all ask at once.
Again, we need that soundboard for crickets. I can't even make a cricket.
You can't either. You can't either.
Maybe my phone, my app can just get a soundboard. Nothing.
No questions.
This happens with a live audience.
They all get scared.
They're scared.
I like to think it's us. We leave them in awe.
Maybe I really answered all my questions in the sessions before.
You are
I
that
think
good.
that's happening. How about any other tips or add-ons or tools you're using right now?
Actually, here's something that we've talked about in the past, but was really very interesting what you two found out. So we're in the Midwest, and the new Google for Education office in the Midwest is in Chicago. And Carl, I believe you were talking to our Google rep and wanting to talk more about Google Play for Education, and especially when pushing out Android apps to the convertibles for our littles, especially.
Yes.
And
That came soon enough.
they were looking for people possibly to do some beta testing, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They are currently beta testing.
Right. And you guys wanted to participate, but what happened?
We couldn't because you can't participate in that beta if you have Google Play for Education already enabled in your domain, which we do because we have other devices that were previously using it before they took it away from us.
The tablet. So you had turned it on because they were using it as a tablet, and because you had done that, not able to be beta testers.
Correct.
Right. Well, and we still use it even with the Android part gone.
Right.
We still have teachers using the Google Play for EDU to push out content to the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
They can still push out apps and extensions
Right.
that way
Yep.
to groups or individual users or books, things like that. So there's still content there. So we're still using it. It kind of bummed me out. This particular switch can't happen soon enough, as far as I'm concerned. We're sitting with a significant number of Asus Flips and Acer R11 738TC or whatever the actual model number is. Yeah, I think so. XLMNOP. But we purposely chose those because they were in that early release and would give us opportunities to have those Android apps on those devices even sooner, to take advantage of that touch screen and the convertible bits to it.
The other piece of that I really want to happen sooner than later is a world-facing camera on the hardware. So when it's converted to a tablet mode, it has the world-facing camera for the kiddos to take pictures of evidence of learning, so artifacts of learning. Our kindergartners are using EasyBlog, right? Android app, changing the HTML5 app, but it's way easier to take a picture of something you've created with a world-facing camera from this side than it is to try to manipulate the flippable Chromebook and hit the space bar or whatever it is to take a picture to get it done. Especially if it's something they created that might be big. I mean, these are little kids, right? So world-facing cameras, we've actually delayed our refresh cycle for our pre-K through second grade devices, waiting for this to happen. So if anyone at Google is listening and has any power to make this happen sooner than later, I'd appreciate it. Especially since you keep taking things from me, like sites and.
So let me ask
They
you.
didn't take it from you, they changed it for you.
It's okay. So let me ask you a little bit of a philosophical question. Is the Android on Chrome just a stopgap? Because you mentioned the apps are being rewritten by HTML5. If everything gets rewritten in HTML5 or everything runs through a web interface, like Seesaw. Seesaw, there's a web interface for Seesaw. You don't really need the app. So is this just a stopgap? Really, in the end, when everything's going to be web-based anyway, are apps going to be a thing down the road?
That's a good point. So, or are we going to just see a complete marriage of Chrome OS and Android OS, so it doesn't really matter? It's just going to be some sort of launcher thing for a web page. It's going to be all just HTML5 residing somewhere.
Okay, but I've been hearing HTML5 for 5, 6 years now,
Correct.
and it's fast approaching.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
How about IP versus 6? Is it coming as soon as that?
Apple killed Flash how many years ago? And we still have to deal with Flash content.
Well, Chrome.
Well, now Chrome has gone away too at
Yeah.
54.
53 or 54, it's turned off by default. You have to go in and change it to let you see Flash stuff. So I think Flash is finally going away.
Maybe they'll go away in the floppy disks.
The stupid Java applets just finally disappear from everywhere. That would be a happy day.
The difficulty is just like with your world-facing camera, you're beholden to the hardware manufacturers.
Right.
And the programmers were beholden to the programmers to change their code. So even it was in Google's booth, so I know that it's public knowledge, but they had a couple of Chromebooks set up to show the app usage. And as we were playing around with it, we went in and we looked, say, hey, I want to download Erasmus.
Oh,
was the one we looked at,
I
right?
see where you're going.
And so the guys wrote the program that says this will not run on a device that doesn't have a front-facing camera.
Right.
So I couldn't even put it on my Chromebook, even though I could fudge an Erasmus to work with the webcam on my Chromebook.
Yep.
And so that's just a simple change in manifest when they upload the app. But there's still quite a few of those that are going to exist that exclude some of those devices until the programmers or hardware developers. And as much as we think new devices get developed every 30 seconds, it takes a long time to get a new camera out there. I mean, how many vendors did we talk to at ISTE?
We talked to a ton of vendors at
We
ISTE
held them up
saying,
and
"Hey,
pointed,
we
put a
want-
camera here.
Put a camera right here.
But it's no different than, you know, people are like, well, why they take the 3.5 millimeter away from the iPhone? And Apple tells you partly because they believe it's antiquated. But the other side is too, is that in making the device the way they made the device, they needed that spot where that 3.5 millimeter jack was to put something else in. So when you're asking them to put a camera and you say logically it goes right here, we don't know what's on the internals that's keeping that camera from being there.
Yes, I do. I take Chromebooks apart every day. There's space to put it there. There's nothing inside a fucking Chromebook.
And we now
He censored himself.
I
He did a
censored
very good
myself.
job.
No, I was not.
I self-bleeped.
It wasn't me this time.
I mean,
No, that's right.
Our audience is giggling too. I mean, whoever's taken apart a Chromebook knows that there's not much in there. There is definitely space for a world-facing camera right where I want to put it.
I understand the
In
size
most
difference,
models.
but you're also now talking that they may have to retool their entire manufacturing.
You're right. Yep, and
It's
that's
not-
what it was.
Yeah, it's,
Yep.
their logic is not our logic.
And that's what the manufacturers were, or the device resellers even were saying. Who was it we talked to that actually manufactured their own devices, and they were telling us how much it costs to tool the assembly line just for a demo model that may never make it to production.
Yeah.
It
Right,
was
and that demo
phenomenal
model,
cost.
that demo model was a brick.
Yes.
Too. I mean, it was super heavy and thick, and
Oh, right.
it was like, oh wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But so to kind of talk a little bit more about this is that Google has that send feedback button, and I know I talk about it all the time.
Oh, the camera that rotates. But would it rotate for a flip, and would they consider that a world-facing camera?
See, if they did it right, I still want, they don't make that into a fully convertible mode yet, so you can do a tablet with touch interface in tablet mode. And one of our audience members held up the
Lenovo, yeah, where the camera flips.
N1, yeah, and whatever, with the camera flipper, which is close. I envision them mounted it like right above the keyboard.
Yeah.
So it's static and not a movable part. You want to reduce the movable part when you're putting it in the hands of the children. So
But you know, it's like to get back to the send feedback thing. I always talk about it when I'm talking to GAFE admins. There's that little send feedback button in the bottom right-hand corner. There's actual human beings at Google that pay attention to that stuff.
Yep.
You know, so if there's enough people that agree with Chad, then
which there should be always.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is you have that opportunity. There's been times where Google has done things. So you look at Classroom. The development that's happened in Google Classroom over the last year and months. I mean, it's not even been around that long, and education is strongly shaping that. You see,
That's funny, the business wouldn't be shaking that.
well, but you could still use it for business internal trainings. I mean, I could really see that
Okay.
for other stuff. But you look at appointment slots. Your Google, the Google for EDU folks complained about appointment slots, and they brought it back just for Google for EDU. So Google's listening to those, and you know, we might not always get our way in. There's some things that we might not always like, but that's just the way it is. And same with these hardware manufacturers. You know, you go to them and say, hey, I'm looking to buy 3, 4, 5,000 devices, and I know that there are this many other districts in Iowa and these people that we talk about, and Wisconsin and Michigan and wherever we go. That like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
They're looking for the same thing.
Correct. And the more you can talk to people, you know, one of the things that really chaps my hide is vendor calls to my office. But I never miss the opportunity when I'm talking to a vendor to give them some of my constructive criticism. You know, there's an opportunity where I would really like your tool if it did this, or this has an opportunity to be really successful if you did this, or you know, I've been using product XYZ and I noticed that this is super awesome, but if you tweak this one little thing, you know,
Case in point,
take that opportunity.
Case in point, Go Guardian.
Oh yeah,
They're very responsive to input. I keep telling them as soon as they add the piece I need, I'll switch. So.
And
they're
that
working
time,
on it.
Yep, that time.
Which is just two different filter sets at times. So you
Yeah,
have
time filters.
Time filters.
Yep. School day, out of school day, sort of thing. Yeah, and it's coming. They prioritize it below some other functionality, so and it made sense because They do it by who's wanting this. I mean, they've done their research. They know their market. They know who needs what.
Well,
Even though Chad wants it, it should
It's
automatically
not
vault
always
to
about the
Chad.
chat. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Although it should.
I agree.
And the thing about complaining about Google, we have to always remember they're giving us all of this stuff for free. And so when they redid sites, I think probably the business side of things had a lot to do with that because it really is a collaboration space for teams now. It's not really a website development tool. It's a place where teams can easily put a whole bunch of content. So the business side of the Googles probably had some input into the rethinking of what sites need to be.
And I half wonder if it is more designed as an intranet.
Right, that's
versus
what I
an
mean.
intern.
Yep, that's what I mean. Yep.
So, but make sure that your ADA stuff means that it's all compatible.
We're not going to talk about that.
We won't get us started on that.
All right. We do have some people out there. Nobody has got any questions out in Viewerland either right now. But I did just get an email, and this is one thing I did want to say beforehand, and this is the copy. So we talked about our sponsor, Telecast, giving us the license key for Wirecast, and I'm not kidding, they just sent me the copy here, and I want to read this. The podcast is brought to you by Wirecast, the live streaming software made by Telestream. With Wirecast, you can turn your Mac or Windows computer into your own television studio and broadcast or record professional video and audio content anywhere in the world. You don't have to be an expert, and I am proof of that.
Obviously.
Seriously, because and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to finish reading their copy here. Wirecast is easy to use and easy to learn and has an amazing support team behind it. Just plug in your camera, microphones, and start streaming in minutes to Facebook Live, YouTube, or over 25 built-in destinations. Tell your story with Wirecast. And truthfully, they sent me the key Sunday night, Sunday morning. I installed it and worked on it for an hour back in the back room to get this going with multiple cameras and different audio input, and put this all together in that amount of time. You want to talk about a nice piece of software? I really do thank them for doing that. So I think that's very, very great.
And we can get fancier. This was a sort of a last minute deal to get Wirecast with the multiple views. Definitely we can get fancier with that.
Oh, we're only going to get better.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
And thanks to Wirecast because they made that happen.
It's just kind of nice that we have a couple of great sponsors who have come out and done this for us, that we have a mobile podcasting device and that we'll go and do this at conferences, and hopefully our audience will grow, and more conferences will ask us. We also do weddings and bar mitzvahs. So I don't know that you want us, but we can do that.
We are entertaining
To some people.
in my own mind.
Again, all about chat. That should be our hashtag. All about
Hashtag of this episode, all about chat.
All about chat. And again, our unofficial sponsor, Let's Get, the premier flexible scheduling software for all your flexible scheduling needs.
He's going to ask me to pay.
I'm going to say,
No, I'm not.
every
I
time
wouldn't
I
do
say
that.
FlexiSCAD, they need to give me a discount for my district's license. That's what it is. I'll just say FlexiSCAD over and over.
You're
and
right,
over again.
right.
So yeah, so
I see
you
a
know,
problem with
mobile
that model.
podcasting, we talked about it. Your people that listen, Bill Guardian got us this kit, Wirecast for this stuff, and I'm sounding like a shill. Yeah. So, but no, it was rather enjoying the mobile part of the podcast, being together.
This is fun.
Get to see everybody, and I wish everybody could be here for the crew. Mitch's travel budget doesn't allow him this year, but he's working on that for next year, so we can do more of these. And Phil was busy with familial obligations today. So.
You only got 3 of the team.
Unfortunately, it's us. Oh well. All right. Well, I think that about does it. Thank you all very much for coming. We did have someone walk out on us. I'm hoping he had something going on and didn't wait that long to
Finally get up the nerve to leave.
But that's just,
He was probably afraid of being
we talked about
handed
having,
as he left.
we talked about having 4 people in here, 5 people in here, is the conference technically ended at 3:30. So they have stuck around
They-
after hours.
Yes.
So more power to that. I really appreciate that.
Just
so
to
thank you
listen
guys
to
very
us
much.
yammer on about
Wow.
stuff.
That's amazing. So, all
All
right.
righty. Have a good one, everybody.
Good. Have a good one, folks. Thanks for listening in.